So, where you been?
Out there.
Out there in the Great Abyss.
Down the river. Burlington way.
Okay, I think the last thing we got from you, other than what I'm going to talk about in just a second, is, wasn't there a Ready Records re-release or something in the middle 90s?
Yeah, all their back catalog, the Blue Peters and that kind of thing. A little bit of everybody, yeah.
So what have you been doing in the interim?
Well, I've had a few different bands of my own, an all-girls band, and one of them was rock and roll. The other was more like an Enya style. And,
I think the thing was, since the 80s, it was kind of a good time to lay low, When the grunge thing and all those other things happened, it was like, put away the synthesizers, put away the drum machines, and luckily we didn't put them away too far because now they're kind of working again. But for a long time, it was all about the guitars and aggression, and so we made different kinds of records.
Yeah, I've had conversations about that, in that grunge was a great thing for independent bands and underground bands to break into the mainstream, but at the same time it was bad for the whole underground scene because it all became about guitars. And all the textures went away. It was all Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Nirvana. So, I guess we needed a little bit of time to go by. And bands like, I guess, MGMT and Phoenix and a bunch of others to bring keyboards back. And, the interesting thing talking about those keyboards is I talked to those bands, and they're all about analog stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's the old sounds. They don't, anything from last year is dated, right? It's got to be from that mid-'80s sound, that Prophet sound, or that Moog sound.
Yeah, the
Jupiter 4 or 6, or the 8, or they're very specific,
The DX7s and everything else that was being used back then. And now, I mean, they're asking for, huge amounts for vintage synthesizers. Stuff that used to sit in people's garages because it's 8-voice polyphonic. Who needs that? That kind of stuff. So is that why you're back now? Because the time is right in terms of the sound and the vibe?
It was a combination of that, and just last year about this time, Gord had a couple of songs, and we tried them out at our 30th year anniversary. And at the Tattoo Club, and we got a great response from the audience, and we thought, well, let's see if we can record those and see what comes of it. And because there was such a good response from it, we was like, okay, let's go.
It's also a cycle thing, because I started liking drum machines and keyboards again. It wasn't that we put them away because we felt we had to, but it was like I had enough of that too for a while. And I'm starting to I started liking that stuff again, so it was a good time to bring them out again.
Well, we did a thing together. Remember the Diet Pepsi thing that we did with a flock of seagulls?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, I was deeply involved in that whole thing. And you guys sounded like you guys, when Flock of Seagulls came out, they sounded like a metal band, and that just didn't work.
No.
You can't mess with people's minds like that.
No. If you can't recognize Iran, then...
And the thing is, the singer, he came out with like a Hawaiian shirt and flip-flops and shorts.
And a baseball cap.
Yeah.
And a baseball cap, yeah.
Where's the
hair?
Where's the swoopy hair?
Which the whole ad campaign was about that thing.
Well, it was. I did the liner notes for the special CD that came out. And on the front was dude with the swoopy hair. So it's just the two of you now, right? As original spoons.
Originals, yes.
But there are more people in the in the band. And you were mentioning these two songs that you had. That was Imperfect and
Breaking In.
Breaking In. Was that was released on vinyl? And there was like 400 copies or something, wasn't there?
No, not quite. We were planning to. We're hoping to.
Okay.
But there's a CD single.
There's only 100 of those.
Oh, 100 of them. Yes. Oh, okay.
Was it not 1,000?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I was wondering where all the money went.
So, and I guess that's the start. You started building on all this stuff. This album is unmistakably Spoons. I mean, you listen to it and you go, yeah, that's the Spoons. I mean, you can hear it in the synths. You can hear it in the guitars. Your voices haven't changed. That I can tell. It still sounds very much like you used to back in the day. How did you manage to do this without sounding dated?
But we recorded it completely contrary to how we planned to do it. We said, if we ever do another album, we were going to get a big name producer, maybe get John Punter back, who did our early albums like Artists and Symphonies, go in a big studio. But first, says, come to my home studio, because my husband, he dabbles in recording and whatever. Let's at least try the demos there, Don't even bring in the rest of the band. So Sandy and I went in, did some drum machines. I played a little bit of keyboards, I could do a little bit. What I couldn't handle, Jeff did. And we got to a certain sweet spot where it sounded more like the Spoons than ever. Like it had in, 20-something years before we brought the rest of the guys in. So he said, we're not bringing them in. We're leaving it just here. You know, what started off as kind of a demo thing turned into like a magical, unexpected thing, which is great.
Well, when I saw that the album was coming out, I was like, really? That was my reaction. It was like, okay, let's give this a listen. And you know, front to back, it's a really pleasant record. I think "Escape with You" is my favorite song.
Yeah,
I think so. I'm not just saying that because she sings it, but it's one of those songs that you can't listen to without stop this. It's one of these songs that you can't listen to without feeling happy. It's a simple melody. It's really uncomplicated, but the layers around it just bring the whole thing to life. Okay. So it's a cool track. So I have a bunch of questions that I said you guys were coming in today on Twitter.
Okay.
A bunch of people sent me some questions. So,
all right.
Okay, here's a question from Alana. She says, "Do you cringe when you see your hair from the old days?" Well, I didn't ask the question, she did.
Sometimes I do. There's one particular haircut I had from the 80s called the poodle cut that I really dread having done. It's kind of was poofy on top and straight on the bottom. Look, I call it the poodle cut. And then people started copying it. I was like, oh, no, you didn't. You didn't. That was a no-no. But what about you?
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's really bad when family sees it, too, like our kids. Like, Dad, no, turn it off. No. I don't even want to get into it.
I remember the 80s, and I remember thinking, you know, we're so sophisticated now, so much better than the 60s and 70s. We got it going on when it comes to fashion. And now you look back at that stuff, and it's like, oh, my God.
No.
What were we thinking?
So 20 years from now, we were looking at our hair now and going,
no.
We'll be sitting there with this again.
Yeah.
Like, look at those losers.
This is an older song.
Oh.
Somebody wants to know about the inspiration of arias and symphonies. Where did the song come from?
You know, the album that we were listening to just before was Ultravox's Vienna album. Big influence. And that came sort of out of that. And I just finished university. I was a psychology student. So it's all about the roles of little boys and girls, what they grow into. It's nothing to do with classical music at all. Mm-hmm. So arias and symphonies is kind of a structured, follow the script, follow the music kind of thing. So it's all about role playing. So that's where that came from.
Here's another one. Will you be releasing Static and Transmission, the new record, on vinyl?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Very soon.
Very soon.
Well, how much analog gear did you use on the record?
We used analog processing.
Okay.
And I still have to discuss this with you, but we just got a new thing that brings the analog sound right back. Doesn't matter how you record it, it'll bring it right in. Oh. It's a part of the recording system. So if we can get a chance to get a hold of the master, we want to put it back through it and see what it sounds like.
Because
it'll sound very, very analog.
And that's the sound. That's the magical sound.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want that warmth. And people, you know, they're tired of thin-sounding MP3s that are, you know, squished to death and have, you know, bad EQ and all the rest of it. I can imagine this record sounding very good on a turntable.
Yeah, it's not only the sound because of the warmth, but it's just the whole idea of that packaging too. Mm. I think that there's talking to some record store people that they see even a bit of a backlash because people are sort of getting tired with the impersonal sort of thing from the internet. They want something they can hold on to and it's fat sounding and big and real, and they can open it up maybe even bigger, like this little all-encompassing little world that they get lost into. So I'm hoping we'll be part of that.
And another thing about vinyl, it demonstrates exactly how much you love music because it's so damned inconvenient. I love this music so much, I am willing to forego portability. I am willing to forego having to just hit a remote and change the track. I am willing to get up and walk across the room every 20 minutes and turn it over.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to spend all this money on special gear to play it back.
So you don't foresee like portable record players that you wear around your neck?
You know what? I did something last week. I swear to God, I did something last week, and it was a tech conference. Mm-hmm. And back in 1955, Chrysler offered an option called the Underdash turntable.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, it was a little thing that slipped under in the knee well, in the passenger footwell.
That's crazy.
And you got 16 2/3 RPM records, and there were only 45 made, and you get them only through Chrysler dealerships. It was great things like dramatic readings of Noel Coward and some symphony records, and Oklahoma and all that sort of stuff.
Great.
So what happens when you go over a bump?
Well, they maintained that it was sprung well enough that you could actually listen while driving, but it never really worked. And I think by 1957 it was gone. But an underdash.
That is wild.
Yeah, that's the early CD player.
The way it was. So I guess, are you free to, you must have regular everyday obligations. Are you free to tour this summer behind the record?
Oh, yeah.
Well, fortunate timing-wise, everything too. Our children now are of age where it's not such a big issue to get up and go.
Okay.
That was a certain issue for me in the 90s.
I guess
sure.
it was. Yeah. How old are the kids now?
They're in their late teens.
Okay, so what do they think about, Mom, the rock and roll chick?
Well, my daughter's a singer. She's really a strong singer, but she's decided she's not going to be in rock and roll so much. She's going to pursue being a doctor.
Not a big jump over. No.
But my son, he's an artist, and actually he's getting into wanting to be a DJ and everything. So they're quite into it, and they were watching breakfast television. In fact, I was calling them to try and get them to record it for me. So it was.
They're very critical, though. Your own kids.
Oh, yeah.
They tell you everything. They'd be the first to point out the hair, right? Like I said, you feel so good about yourself coming off something like that, and they point out one thing, like, why are you making that face when you're doing that solo? Or why, okay, enough, just keep it to yourself.
What are you wearing?
Well, they made it in a loving way, I guess.
I guess. Just Mom, Dad, don't embarrass me.
Yeah.
Just try not to do anything too strange. It sounds like, though, that you're having fun again after being AWOL for almost 20, well, 20 years, or how long has it been?
Since we last album was 23 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. We still played once in a while. We never said it was over, you
Right.
know, but just kept their feet wet in the whole thing and did other things. And I play every weekend, whether it's the Spoons or my other bands. I just got to keep going. So.
Well, I think it's a very, like I said, very pleasant record that sounds like summertime. And I encourage everybody to give it a good listen, because I think you'll be very surprised. It does not sound like a rehash of the past. It sounds very contemporary. And you guys could be 21 years old, working on your dad's analog machines. So, sounds great.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks very much, and good luck with the record in the rest of the year.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you.
Cool.
ExploreMusic wears English Laundry apparel.